add simple drum rhythms. If you can hear that, that's a metronome. It's on a phone right now. It looks like this. It's counting out the beats for me. So you can kind of think of this like a conductor, but just the sound of it. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Every single one of those little beeps or clicks is a beat. Let's start with a quarter note. A quarter note is equal to 1 beat. So you would play it just on each click. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. An eighth note can fit 2 notes within the beat. So often we might fit an and in between the 1, 2, 3, 4 of our click. It goes like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... Notice that our 1, 2, 3, that's in the same place as it was for the quarter note. You're fitting 2 notes within the same amount of space. And make sure that those 2 notes are even. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 16th notes. You can fit 4 16th notes within 1 beat. We're going to add some more syllables to our 1 and 2 and. Now the pattern is 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a... There are also notes that go longer than a quarter note. So with the quarter note, remember it was just on the ones. 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, now we can go longer notes. For example, a half note is 1 note that takes up 2 beats. So it goes like this. 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And finally, a whole note. A whole note is 1 note that takes up 4 beats. So if you're playing in 4/4, it'll just take up the whole measure. It sounds like this. Ready? And 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. The thing about playing these long notes, like half notes and whole notes, on a snare drum means that we're sort of holding them out for the whole count, but it doesn't sound like we are. Because a snare drum is such a quick instrument, you hit it once, it goes, and that's the whole sound. So you need to be extra careful that you're counting out 2, 3, 4, the whole measure of something like a whole note, before you move on to the next part. This is especially important if you're playing something like bass drum. A bass drum, it will hold out the note because it's sort of boom. And you want to make sure that that sound continues through a whole measure or through a whole half note. So don't cut your notes off early, even if you're playing a snare drum and the note is fast. Each note also has a rest version. So for a quarter note, the rest looks like this. And a pattern you might see is like this. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So that's a whole beat of not playing at all. Next, we would have the rest for the eighth notes. An eighth rest looks like this. You might play it like this. 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. You might see a pattern like this. This is a little bit confusing because now you might be saying, hey, wait a minute. The eighth notes look different now. Well, eighth note, 1 single eighth note looks like this. But if we have 2 eighth notes in a beat, a lot of times they'll be notated together. So this is 2 eighth notes. It sounds like this. 3 and 4 and 1 and. If we have an extra eighth note here on the end though, and it doesn't have a friend, it's shown like this. It's the same note, just this is 2 eighth notes and this is 1 eighth note. And you would see that notated like this. We have the 2 eighth notes and then another eighth note and then an eighth rest, which looks like this. So a pattern like this would be played like this. 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. 3 and 4. Let's look at some of the longer notes. A half rest looks like this, and you would hold out for 2 whole beats. So one pattern could be like this. We have the half note, which is 2 beats, and then the half rest, which is 2 more beats, and that makes up a 4/4 measure. So it would sound like this. Ready? And 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, Don't forget, when I play on snare drum, the note is really quick. So I'm still playing a half note, but it's sort of hard to tell. If you were playing something like bass drum, it would have that whole boom, 3, 4. So make sure you play notes for their whole value because it's really important. Another pattern you might see would look like this. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. It would sound like this. Ready? And 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Finally, let's talk about a whole rest. A whole rest looks like this, and it's with 4 counts. If you see this, it probably is taking up the whole measure, and that means that you just have to count to 4 quietly. If you want to see an example, this is what it would look like. Ready? And 1, 2, 3, 4. Now let's go through some patterns that you might see in the wild, in your band class. So let's start with a pattern like this. It kind of adds the notes as you've learned them in order. It looks like it's a quarter note, a couple of eighth notes, a bunch of 16th notes, and 1 quarter rest. 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Here's another pattern you might see. This one starts with the 16th notes and then it'll move to the quarter notes. So let's try playing it and see what it sounds like. 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. This one is pretty common. This one is a couple of 16th notes attached to an 8th note. So we have the 16th notes, which is 1 E, and then we have an 8th note, and that's an and. Just like with this pattern, we'd have a 1 and. That second 8th note is the and. It's the same here, except for we have the 16th notes in front instead of another 8th note. So 1 E and, 2 E and it would sound like this. 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and. 1 E and. It's a little strange all by itself, so let's put it in a pattern. We'll do this one. We have quarter notes in between. That'll sound like this. 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and 2. 3 E and 4. 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and